Welcome, one and all, to our second panel discussion that we are trying to do at least once a month. I would like to introduce you to our wonderful channel, Veronica Drake.
Hi,
and her little sidekick, Erik Med, who's my son.
The little shit.
The little shit. And the Soul Happy Technique girls, Cara Hewett. Hello.
Hello.
And Tracy Zboril.
Hi there. Zboril, you got it right.
That's a lot of consonants, girl, but I've seen a lot more in certain other names. All right, so today we are going to bring in Wayne Dyer, who I know very little about. Oh God, he's going to be upset with me. And Louise Hay. So we're going to talk about the whole mind, body, spirit connection. Louise Hay, I know of because my sister, my bohemian sister from California, introduced me to her, decades ago when she obviously was still alive. So I guess we could start in by saying, Erik, you want to bring them in? Please.
Yes, he skipped off.
Actually, did he skip? He skipped?
It's funny because he's showing me that he's beaming them in like they would do on Star Trek. He's beaming them in. And Wayne actually is here. And I have to tell you, I'm like a giddy schoolgirl because Wayne Dyer was my mentor.
He's one of my heroes for sure.
Louise is here, and she has a very regal feeling, a very regal presence, where Wayne has like a do-do-do-do, like right. I feel like he would be reggae ready.
Oh, really? All right. So
is Louise's last name Hay or Hayes? I think it's Hay.
Oh,
no S.
Oh, it's Louise.
No S.
Hey, that's right. Uh-oh, bad girl. Sorry, Louise. All right, so let's start out, I think, with just each of you introducing yourself and telling the audience a little bit about your work when you were here on Earth. Wayne, ladies first. Louise Hay, can we start with you?
She says the thing that's most important that she would like you to know is that there's no limit on yourself. And when you start, you start. And she's obviously, as I know, obviously, referring to the fact that she was in her late 50s, I believe is what she's saying, 56 maybe? 57, when she started her group of people that she started working with, that really started the influx of work in the mind, body, spirit realm. She's saying that prior to that, she had a very, she's calling it highfalutin existence, very prim and very proper, but didn't have touch with reality in all senses in that life.
Okay.
Yeah, she said, what you need to know about me will be revealed through this conversation. She's kind of like this, like you could tell she's regal as I use the word. And she's actually a very, very small woman. She looks very petite here. I'm not sure what she was in life, but she looks very petite. And her energy is very sophisticated and very independent feeling. And Wayne Dyer, and actually Wayne is here, and Wayne's got, he said he's not carrying any baggage, just like he didn't carry in life. And he's kind of a free soul here. He's not tethered to anything in the afterlife, and he's got no shoes on, which your boy shows up like that often.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's got like these, they look like beads. They're brown beads around him. I don't know what they are, but I don't know. But, and he says that his whole life here on Earth prepared him for this moment where he is now on the other side.
What do you mean?
So he's saying that what the adversities that he went through in this life, the challenges that he went through, are so that he can come to this point in his soul and look at what he's reviewed. And he's saying to me that he's done. Like he's probably not going to reincarnate. Is that what you're saying to me? He feels like he's waiting on the final say, but it feels like he's saying to me he probably won't reincarnate. which could mean at some level, he's saying he goes on to become an ascended master.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, talk about your work though. What, Louise, what was your claim to fame? I already know, but there are people who are watching this that might not.
What's important to know, she says, is my claim to fame is that to let everyone believe and feel empowered that they have the power over their own lives in coordination with spirit. So empowering the individual, she said, to believe in themselves was really the core of my work. And she said she is one of the forerunners, I think that's the word she used, forerunners in the mind, body, spirit field, in the sense that you could actually physically heal your body with your mind and what you put in it, she says.
Yeah, but weren't you also the forerunner of the discovery that we create our own physical illness? Spiritually, our the spiritual issues, etc., contribute to developing arthritis, etc.
She's the original, the mama of the phrase, your biography is made by your biology is made by your biography, she says.
Okay.
So what you lived, you also created inside your body.
So
your story.
Wayne, what about you? What's your fame to claim? Fame to claim! Claim to fame. I do that all the time. I do spoonerisms. Like there's one that I do when I say there's a cold front coming through. Now, the spoonerism of that is not good if you change the F and the C.
No, we don't want to say that.
No.
So Wayne's kind of liking it. He's relaying to me that his claim to fame was your thoughts create your reality.
Okay.
Power of your life is driven by your thoughts. The direction of your life is driven by your thoughts. And Louise Hay was one of his mentors.
Oh. Tracy, Cara, would you like to ask a few questions?
Well, what I was going to say is they are, the two of them were really pioneers. So in our field of psychotherapy, when we started realizing there just had to be a better way than traditional talk therapy, it's because of the pioneers before us, like Wayne and Louise, that made us have something to, like a direction and a focus when we started taking our careers in a different path. And I would love to find out kind of how Louise, like what made her get started at that stage? Because like for me, being in the field of psychotherapy for all those years, why I became interested in the mind-body connection, mind-body-spirit connection, was literally because of years of observing in my clients the connection between, people's attitude and their attitude and their physical self. So if somebody came into me because they had some kind of diagnosis, whether it's chronic pain or whether it was something acute, I started seeing a pattern over the years of people who had a good attitude and a good mental attitude about it. Their prognosis was often according to that. It's like they created, whether they were going to heal or not. So it was solely my observation and my fascination that got me interested. And then to start looking into, is there a connection there? To have, like I said, these pioneers, before me, and something for me to really learn from. So I appreciate that immensely. I'm curious, Louise, what got you started going down that path at that stage in your life?
She's saying that it was a cumulative effect. Every year of her life led her to this moment, she's saying. And when she refers to this moment, she's talking about her pioneering. So all the tumultuousness in her life, all of the letdowns in her life, even the successes, she said, brought her closer and having a deeper desire to understand the human dynamic as it relates to the soul. And she said that was initially what piqued her curiosity. She said she was also at the point where she could finally stop running, where she could just take all of the lessons she learned, bring them in, and just listen and be silent and see how that they could actually help humanity, because her life was a teaching platform. She's saying that every experience, actually she's correcting me, saying all of our lives are teaching platforms. Everything we go through. She's saying it really, for her, was never about religion. It wasn't religion per se. It was the feeling she got when she thought of something bigger, and when she connected the dots and put together that something bigger was also part of us, and that we had the same ability. Her whole thing was to teach.
Echo. Did anybody turn up their volume? Because that'll do it.
No, but you want me to turn mine down?
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't touch anything. I didn't touch anything either. But
all right, let's just go to their sound settings and turn things down a little bit. But go ahead. All right, so Louise, was there a particular thing that happened to you personally that put you on this path?
She said there were a host of things that happened to her, starting from a very abusive, very tormented beginning, to marriages that were abusive, to relationships where she felt used. It was all a part of this that made her who she was.
Okay.
And she's saying that she knew while she was alive that all of that was relevant. And she's saying that's really what made her different. It made her perspective different. It made her see things in a way that nobody else could. In other words, she's showing me that what happened was the platform she used to climb up and to climb up and to climb up. Instead of being in the woe me mode, she noticed early on when she was in a woe me mode, she just didn't feel good. And I think we all can relate to that. And she's saying it was just she's talking about the energy, of the body, and how we created the sickness by not feeling good per se.
Cara, do you have a question for Wayne Dyer?
I do. He's of course a mentor as well. Read all of his books, and I think my question might be for him, because of course he's in the same profession that Tracy and I are in, and my question might be, now that you're on that side of the veil, what can you tell us about human behavior that you didn't know during your lifetime?
Ooh, good one. Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually doing one of these, he's in serious thought. What you didn't know when you were here. He's a little difficult to hear. I'm not sure why.
Well, Erik, can you help him communicate, or at least convey what he's trying to say?
Just give me a minute. What you didn't know about human behavior. Oh, he's saying how he's using the word puppetized, how puppetized behavior was, and he's laughing, meaning how people were controlled by other people. He said it was, you saw it, you knew it, but he said the manipulation that other people's beliefs had on other people was huge. You know, and he's looking down, he's showing me like he's looking down through something and just specifically looking at the manipulation and the control, which was what he always knew happened with the mind, the thoughts. They were the manipulation, the controlling aspects of life. But he's saying it was a very interesting revelation to him how other people's thoughts, oh, this is interesting, how other people's thoughts manipulated the thoughts of other people.
Wow.
So in other words, please correct me if I'm wrong, Erik and Wayne. In other words, if I would be solving a problem a certain way and I would be feeling good about solving that problem, and Elisa came on and she just had a different way and her thought process was all different, it would have an impact and an effect on what I was doing in my mind. And so he knew it was important at his juncture that he came on the scene to strengthen the belief systems. That makes sense. I hope I translated it accurately. He's very low spoken, and I didn't know him to be that way in life.
Okay. Oh, by the way, everybody, we had no idea we were going to do this. Veronica and I were going to channel Archangel Michael and Gabriel, so we were totally not prepared. Yeah, so we just sprung in on this one by no fault but my own. And I want to ask all three of you, Erik, Mr. Dyer, or Dr. Dyer, is it, and Louise Hay, your definition of the mind-body-spirit connection. Let's start with Erik, because you've been silent. I'll give you a stage for a while.
Well, the mind-body-spirit connection, he said, is he sees it as a thread. It's everything's connected together, and everything is also, it's woven together. There isn't one piece that functions without the other, the mind, the body, or the spirit. And it's like we have a core that goes up. And so the mind, body, spirit is actually the work that should be done when people are going to the doctor per se, or when people aren't feeling well. He's going on a tangent about doctors will treat symptoms that they're trained to treat, but he's saying, why can't it be that they get the three components, the mind, the body, and the spirit?
That's why you sometimes have to have a team, a spiritual life coach and a physician or some sort of healthcare provider, and the soul happy people.
And yeah, the soul happy people. And Louise is saying that her perspective, from what she has seen, is 99.9999999% of what goes on in the body can be cured by the mind.
What about the spirit, though?
Well, that's a different kind of, Wayne jumped in here. He's saying people get confused a lot with spirit. When they hear the word spirit, they get confused. So he's saying for this conversation, the word spirit is synonymous with creator, with soul.
Okay.
So that we are all on the same understanding. He's saying because there are different ways that people will describe spirit out there.
All right, so Wayne, so the mind thoughts can influence the body and its health, but how does spirit work into that connection?
So the spirit actually, he's saying, is like, if you think about it as a megaphone, the spirit is yelling, talking to you, telling you what you need to do to, get around this, or what you need to do to work with this. He said, but when people don't work with the spirit, he said, how do they even know what they're hearing? who's teaching this? He said, now it's very prominent. He said, but back when Louise and I were coming up, it really wasn't very prominent. He's saying, he's actually saying his start was in the early 70s.
Wow. So the spirit is that megaphone that is supposed to like help change our beliefs to where we can influence our bodies in a normal, to go in a healthier route.
Well, what Louise would like to add to that is we are all, and she's going to piggyback on what Erik said, is that we're all connected like a thread. It's like if you just picture it, the mind, the body, the soul, and then you picture the spirit talking to the creator. And so it just trickles down. It's like, so they're showing me an image. So it's the creator up here, whatever we decide that looks like. And then it becomes the next level down is the soul, and then the body, and then, then the mind, and then the body. So it's actually soul, mind, body. But we say it mind, body, soul, because Wayne jumps in and says, because humans need to think. He said, humans need to think. And the mind is believable. He's using believable. And Louise and him are kind of have a chuckling thing going on here. But
Chuckle fest.
Yeah. So
yeah, we know better. All right, Cara, Tracy, take the floor.
You want to go, Tracy? You want me?
Go ahead.
So you talked about, Dr. Dyer, you talked about thoughts affecting your reality, or your thoughts become things, your thoughts become, change your behavior. So can you give us maybe a synopsis of how we're going to view consciousness and energy, and how that relates to thoughts, and how that's going to affect people like futuristically? So like in 10 years, are we going to be looking at things differently than we do now when it comes to thoughts and energy?
he says, absolutely. And it's already happening. It's called quantum physics. And he's saying, as we go deeper and deeper into the unknown, we're going to see that actually the mind, if we believe in the universal law of oneness, the mind is not separate from the creator. And we will be getting back to programming the mind so that it is in conjunction with the creator. Now, he's saying the thoughts, he's using the phrase, you read my mind. And he's saying that is going to be the literal norm. So think about this, he says. If we're going about our life and we're standing in line, he's saying, and we're thinking, oh, she's a pain in the ass with all that change in her wallet. Why can't she just use her debit card like everybody else, right? He's saying essentially what's going to happen as we move forward in this and energies elevate, the person in front of us is going to know what we're thinking. And by just osmosis, we're just going to go on to this person with our thoughts, and then it's going to be, okay, now what do we have here? So what he's saying, essentially, it may get a little bit rougher before it gets a little bit better, because the more people that know how to work with this concept of what you think about, you bring about, the more we're going to watch what we think, he says. And maybe we're not going to be so hard on the person in front of us with all that change, because eventually it's going to come to the point where we know we are that person with the change.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're all going to become, well, it's like we're all going to become kinder as we all elevate in the spirit sense, as we become closer to basically our higher selves, right?
And Erik is saying that, where he and where they are, it's just transmitted by thought. There is no verbal sound like this. And he said the reason it's imperative that we get this work out there and we educate people on thought work is really what's going to be the turning point. People are saying, Erik is saying this, people are saying all the time, what's going to make the world better? How do we fix this? Well, you fix your own thoughts, he says. You know, if you have a fucked up thought about something, you know, it's going to have a ripple effect. So it's really, the onus is on yourself to look at what you're thinking. And he's saying, gone are the excuses of my mommy did this and my daddy did that. He said, that's just horse shit.
So I have a question is, you know, they all kind of agree that there's like this thread kind of connecting, like they were showing the thread. Is the connection in the form of energy? Because we're using, you know, for psychology now, because of these pioneers before us, you know, we're shifting our focus very much away from the conscious, literal mind, analytical mind, to the subconscious, where we can do energy work. Well, where we can get more in touch with kind of, I guess, with understanding, with more of our intuitive side and more in touch with our core. But we think of it now as energy.
He says, my dear, everything is energy. Everything is energy. He said, if you were to draw what I can see, he said, it would look like a blue current. He's using the color blue current running up and just kind of quivering and going through the body. And actually, Louise jumps in and says, hello, chakras.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So do they want us to continue down that path in terms of psychotherapy, getting away from traditional talk therapy and using this energy work? They would support that, I'm assuming.
Wayne said that's what he did.
Yeah, that is what he did.
But he's saying it's time for next level. And I want to know, what is next level? Like, what is next level? He says that the car, which is our vehicle, stalls in first gear. Like, we can't really get past the self-awareness. Like, it's like people take courses to get self-aware and people want to know about themselves. But he's saying the whole crux of this work is self-awareness, because if you don't know yourself, he's saying, how are you going to know anything about anything? Because everything emanates from you. So knowing oneself, I don't know if that's helpful direction.
And knowing the, being your authentic self.
Does it make sense?
Well, it certainly is helpful in terms of Cara and I with, you know, we developed a therapeutic technique, and a big part of the technique is helping people get in touch really with what we call in the technique your core, but it's your soul. It's, you know, getting in touch with your higher self, with the part of you that is kind of pure and intuitive. But we also, Wayne, what do you think about, you know, Wayne? So, you know, I kind of keep coming back to Wayne because he's in the same field as Cara and I, and we want to make sure we're getting it right in terms of help, you know, trying to help people. We also have a part of our technique that you have to kind of clear out some of the accumulated negativity that's built up over the course of your lifetime of experiences. So energetically, we kind of try to, you know, I guess is to use Freud from the last video. Freud said, excavate, do a little excavation. What would Wayne say about that? And are we on the right track with that? Is that necessary in his eyes?
What he says to that is this: think about your drain. And if you had hair clogging up your drain and the water couldn't flow, wouldn't that bother you?
Clean out the hair, get the gunk out of the drain.
And that's in the simplest way that he could say it, because think of water. Water is energy. Okay. Everything is energy. Water can't flow if there's a mass there, and the hair becomes a mass, and our limiting beliefs become a mass, a ball. And so if we are to function, and Louise says, if we are to function optimally, and if we are to function at a high level energetically, we got to get that mass out of there. And that mass, she's saying to think of it like this. I think she's showing me, let me confirm. So she has like a rubber ball band. Like there's, you know, like you have rubber bands and you make a ball, and it turns into this ball. And she's saying, if the ball starts out being this big as the belief, okay, and you take one rubber band off, it looks like you're really not doing anything because there's a lot of rubber bands on there, she says. But it's a lot of process. It's a lot of knowing yourself. So you take another rubber band off, and and she's saying the process that you two are putting people through are actually expediting peeling off the rubber bands quicker than traditional therapy. And as that ball shrinks and gets smaller, it actually, what you're doing is allowing people's energy centers to flow, which creates a higher level of vibration and just more vitality.
Mm-hmm. So we're kind of trying to help people get their energy flowing again, so to say, in the right, you know, with the right frequency to be at their highest purpose and their highest focus. Is that path, well, she's kind of explaining the mind spirit connection right there, isn't she?
Yes.
In the body, of course, we talk about in terms of healing, physically healing ourselves, and we all know that we can change.
That's a byproduct, she says.
Okay. Oh, interesting, because they're not as concerned about the body where they are right now. But
it's never Wayne says the body is the messenger. Think about it, he says. The first time something doesn't feel right in our body, we do something about it. But up here, we'll swirl, we'll have a cesspool, we'll keep going. He said, nobody does anything about it, but oh, voila, now I have indigestion and I have acid reflux. Well, why? Because I'm stuck in 1976 and blah, blah, blah. So it is all deeply interconnected.
I want to know very quickly, how does thought change things on a cellular level? I love Bruce Lipton's The Biology of Belief. So thoughts are a vibration. Somehow it must influence the cells of our body, right? Mm-hmm. And for what I understand, that the cells can then emit a vibration that can create reality. That's how the law of attraction works. But how does that work as far as the manifestation of disease?
Who wants to take this? I will. So simply stated, you think of it like this, and Erik has given me an illustration. So if the cells are like this, and they're just moving and they're floating around and they're doing all their thing, and they're happy and they're fine-tuned and you're going about life, and then all of a sudden you get this low vibration of a thought, it kind of bounces in and just kind of takes the integrity away of the original thought. It's kind of like it's repressing it, it's pressing it in. And that's the very simple, I mean, I'm not a deliverer, I got nothing like degree-wise that says, so Erik keeps it really dumbed down for me, but that's the simple version. Ladies, does that resonate? Does it mean anything to you?
Yeah, for what, Bruce's work, we love, Tracy and I love him and his work, and I just happen to have some notes here that cell membranes act like a computer chip, and they function like one. So when you understand that computers and cells are programmable, then they could be programmed outside of the cell, just like a computer would. A computer. So biological behavior and gene activity are dynamically linked from information in the environment, which is then downloaded into the cell. So that's kind of and some notes that I took.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how the gene cell thing kind of interplays. That's a very simplistic way to say it, but does that answer your question there, Elisa?
Oh yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Another way that I look at it, another explanation could be that everything is energy, as they're saying. And so as you have a thought about something, it shows up in the form of energy. It's an electrical current that runs down a neuronal pathway in your brain. And if everything is energy, it's typical of energy to meet up and join up with other energetic entities that are like that. And
you mean like vibrational frequencies? Like a thought has its own unique energetic pattern of vibrational frequencies.
Right.
Then it seeks out.
And then it seeks out a similar frequency. And the physics behind this, I think, is such that as you get enough of the frequency together, it comes into form. Mass, wave turns into mass.
Right.
So a thought turns into form, turns
right.
into mass. So that is how you can think of it from a literal standpoint of how you can create your reality, how your thought can actually show up. What does Erik say to that?
He's yes, and they are also agreeing yes, and the simplicity of it, where the cells are, the programming or what you're made of, and the bouncing off of, is showing us that when it bounces off, what happens is it can go create a new pathway, a new beginning, a new way of being. So that's the simplicity of what.
Oh my gosh. So does that help to explain why the clearing exercises, Wayne, there's been all these new therapeutic tools that people are using. Does that explain how it works? So for instance, if we're trying to take a memory and we're trying to scramble it so that it doesn't have the same emotional charge as it's lodged in there. Instead, it just kind of becomes a benign memory rather than a traumatic memory. Cara and I go in and through these exercises, what we think we're doing is we are, as somebody's retelling the memory, so it's an electrical current going down a pathway, and we interrupt it. So then it kind of stops for a second, and it goes down another pathway. And I do picture it. I've even explained it like this to clients. What we're doing is we're busting it up, and we're
it's
making
a collision, Erik says.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And then we're making it go down another pathway, and then
like quantum probabilities.
And we let them talk again for a couple seconds, and then you interrupt it again. And then it collides again and sets down another pathway. And through the course of, let's just say 10 minutes of doing that, by the time they're done, it kept bouncing off and going down new neuronal pathways. And now all of a sudden that memory is scrambled in the subconscious mind. It looks different. It just doesn't care. It's reprogrammed differently.
It doesn't have any fire to it anymore.
Oh my God, thank you.
And Erik is saying, think, Mom. He's looking at you, Mom. And he's saying, Mom, think bumper cars. Think bumper cars.
Okay. I've taken you into plenty of them.
Mm-hmm.
For
think
sure.
Bumper cars where it bumps off and it bumps off, but the visual he showed me is it bangs into it, dents it in, and it goes off a different way. So yes, absolutely.
All right. So have you guys had past lives together? I mean, is this a soul contract that you guys are working together in the same arena?
Who are we asking that of?
Oh, Wayne and Louise.
Oh. He said he's using the word soulmates,
Okay.
So they were soulmates in the sense that they came in to grow each other, to kind of just, one picks up the process. It's almost like they could complete each other's sentences. And yes, so the answer is yes, he said. Soulmates.
Was there another life that they'd like to share that they were in together that influenced their most recent lives?
So Wayne says one of the lives they he's saying one of the lives they had together, you would equate him to a snake charmer, where he was, kind of less than scrupulous, if you will, and she was someone that saved him from that. So Louise has always been kind of gathering, may find herself having a different status.
We lost. For some reason, Zoom bumped me off. Zoom bumped me off, and now it looks like they bumped.
We just see your picture.
Yeah, but Tracy and Cara are not there.
Erik.
There we are. Erik. Is that Erik? Oh my God.
It's Erik. Yeah, but we can't see you.
We just see your pretty picture.
Yeah, your doctor picture.
Oh, well, I'm here.
It looks like her doctor picture, right? She has her pearls on.
That is so weird.
Well, we can hear you.
That's okay. It's fine. But I don't see Cara. Where's Cara?
Lisa, it's like earlier how I couldn't get on this. I couldn't join the meeting for the longest time. It's like
the energy of this moon is off the hook. Okay, off the hook, and Erik is a little shit today. I'm just gonna tell you, he's a little shit.
That's how he rolls. All right, one really important question before we close is what are the ingredients for the best mind, body, spirit connection? Of course, eating the food, the stuff we put into our body and the environment. That's something. Probably, being your authentic self, mindfulness. Well, maybe those are ingredients, but what are others?
Go ahead, girls.
Well, I think what you just, you mentioned mindfulness. I think that whole term, we've got to fine tune that and talk about what it really means and not just think about it as being in yoga studios.
Yes.
It needs to be an everyday concept, something that people can grasp, and in a different way. Because as we do a lot of things, we make it modernized, and then it loses its intensity. And it's such an important concept for the human experience.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Erik is saying that mindfulness, the word itself, scares people off.
Yeah.
It can be pretty elusive. Mm-hmm. People aren't sure what exactly it means.
That's what he's saying. He says, girls, make a new term.
Well, Deepak Chopra said in the Heal documentary, which is a really fantastic documentary, if your viewers haven't seen that, he said, the term mindfulness is a terrible word, that we should be more in tune with the word mindlessness.
Oh, I like that.
I can follow that one.
Yeah, that is, by the way, for your people that are watching, that is an incredible documentary.
What's it called again?
Called Heal, Heal. It's on Netflix. On Amazon, I saw it when it was first released, but there are all these thought leaders in the field of mind, body, spirit that speak on this, and it's just an incredible. It talks about healing the body and how, going back to what we talked about initially in this conversation, how we can use our minds to heal our body. What Louise, that's what she began in that area. She likes the word, Louise likes the word presence. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
Presence
Erik,
without the mental chatter.
Erik chimes in and says, who doesn't like presents?
Oh my God, you're so silly.
So wait a minute. He might be onto something here.
Mm-hmm.
Because, this is Wayne, because Wayne says, when you are mindful, you do get many, many gifts.
Oh,
That's true. All right.
that's
So
worth
then-
writing down.
So Wayne or Louise, do you want to also share, well, either how we can be mindless and present, or what other ingredients do we need to strengthen and make whole the mind, body, spirit connection?
So one of the things Wayne is saying, he loves the technique of being the observer.
Mm.
So what the observer is literally your body's here and you're taking, and girls, you may be able to articulate this better. I'm just listening to him and giving the very basic description. You come out of yourself and you just kind of watch pieces of yourself and you're watching it. It's almost like you're watching a movie, he says. And you're looking at your life at scene by scene. And you're just looking at it. So in other words, he's saying if you're struggling with something, say the biggest thing is I'm stuck. I can't, my life can't move forward. Well, the stuckness is only up here. And so if you step out, you sit on a park bench and you think you picture yourself sitting next to you on the park bench, you can kind of interview yourself, he says. Ask the selves, because I believe, this is me talking, Veronica, that I believe we have the small self, the S, and the big self, the big S. So, I always have conversations between my big self and my little self. And I just and the big self being the piece of the creator and the little self being the everyday human earth student. And so I have conversations and I try to align them with each other. So if the little self is down here going, fuck them, the big self is up here going, we need to have this conversation. Here's what it looks like. Think about it. That's kind of what he's saying.
That's
And
amazing.
the exercise that he described there, in our field, we think of that as detachment. Get a sense of detachment in order to then objectively view something.
Without judgment, without analysis.
With getting out of your freaking mind.
Yes.
Analysis paralysis, he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Certainly. Okay.
Any last input, Louise or Wayne, before we share everybody's information and close?
Louise would just like to add that the girls are onto something very unique. It's actually what she's calling it is what she would have called her work early on, a diamond in the rough. Not in the sense that you need to physically do anything else with it. It's that the concept to people is dusty and murky. And so the true key to success is clearing the dust and the fog around people's minds about what it is that they need.
And how do they do that?
They're the professionals.
Okay. It's up to them.
We need to educate is what it sounds like, which is what Cara and I, we kind of know that, like even Elisa, we feel so grateful for this platform because if we can get the message out of what we're trying to do. So she's saying we're onto something. It's just people need to, can they help from their side?
It's next level. And she's saying this, if I'm nearsighted, I can't see far away without corrective lenses. And so think about what you're offering, she says. It's so far out there to a lot of people, the concept. So the idea is to bring it closer to them. And so bringing it closer to them means taking it out and educating it in a simple way. She said she has found the human mind is so complex and it's so creative and so many things, she said, but people, and this is Erik's words, he interrupts her and says, people need it dumbed down.
Yeah.
Well, Cara and I, when we've been doing, say, however it is, we're trying to get our message out there to explain how people can heal themselves. We often end up sounding abstract. Can you hear me? We often end up sounding very abstract, and we try to rein it in. We'll say, Cara and I will definitely say, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's start over. We got to keep this really simple, not because people aren't intelligent enough, but she's actually reinforcing, Cara, I think where you and I have been going with this, that we've really been trying to make it so that anybody not in the field at all of psychology or science, and certainly not neuroscience or quantum physics, can really understand what we're saying. They can grasp what we're saying, and we're trying to do that. So we'll take up her challenge.
It might take some physical metaphors. Wayne, is there anything you would like to offer before we close?
Wayne is saying that if you can pick up any one of my books, he says, and if you are an average 7th grade reader, you understand what I'm saying.
Which one is your favorite?
Well, he's saying that he loved the Tao, the wisdom of the Tao.
Oh,
yeah. And change your mind, change your thoughts, change your mind, I think is another one. But he's saying if it isn't doable on a level that everybody gets, he says you kind of have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. All right. Erik, do you want to add anything before we close?
Erik said that this was exciting and fun for him. And Mom, I do like presents. And thank you. Thank you for my birthday, he says.
Oh, happy birthday, belated. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll let you guys. I love you, Erik, too. Thank you so much, Dr. Dyer and Louise Hay. Got it right this time. And I really appreciate your expertise, your wisdom, all the stuff you've done while you're alive, and you're probably going to carry on doing something from that side, too. So I'll give everybody a chance to share their information. Veronica, since you're on the left, I'm going to have you start like I'm reading a book.
VeronicaDrake.com. Anything that you need, spiritual, angels, intuitive readings, numerology. I have a School of Spiritual Arts where for $25 a month, I teach all of this. It's just awesome. It is awesome.
Yeah.
VeronicaDrake.com.
All right, great. Tracy?
Okay, you can find Cara and I, our company is called Soul Happy, and we are at Soul Happy, SOUL, happy.com. We have an online therapeutic technique, which is what we've been referring to today, speaking with our soul mentors from the other side. And we've got a lot of messages and, on the website to further explain what we try to do.
That sounds great. I'm so grateful for that technique. That's awesome. You guys can check out Erik at channelingerik.com. Erik spelled with a K. Check out his book, My Life After Death. It's the most amazing memoir of the afterlife, death all the way to the afterlife. And my book, From My Journey as a Skeptic to a Believer, My Son and the Afterlife, is also something that you might want to pick up. So check out our Facebook pages, YouTube channel, and our radio show, The Hour of Enlightenment. All right. Thank you guys for this second wonderful panel discussion.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys.